So at this point, my people, I'm going to welcome Professor Carson Anyangwe. Professor Carson Anyangwe is connecting in all the way from Johannesburg in South Africa. Hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Prof. Greetings. I want to thank you, first of all, enormously for taking time off your very busy schedule to be on this slot with me. How is it out there in South Africa today?
It's fine. The weather is warm. In fact, sometimes it's even hot. But other it's cool here. It's fine.
Okay, that's awesome. Uh, one quick word for our people before I leave you in the call for a few minutes and then bring you back. Prof, can you hear me? Professor
Yes, I
Carson?
can hear you.
Okay,
I
yes. I
think
was
there's
saying,
some.
yeah, I think we had some little glitch there. But one quick word for our people before I leave you in the call for a few minutes and then bring you back. I don't know where this is coming from, but I suppose that we should be able to resolve those challenges as the slot goes on. So, Prof,
Yes.
okay. All right, at
Do
least you can hear me. I was asking, do you have one quick word for our people on Ground Zero who are watching you right now before we progress in this slot?
yes, indeed, I have. I want first of all to thank all our people of Ground Zero, the freedom fighters, our population, for holding steadfast. And I can assure them that this is the kind of exemplary conduct which out there the international community is looking for. Synergy between our fighters and our people, and I'm very much aware that our people are supporting our liberation struggle to the hilt, and nothing is going to turn them away. After saying that, I want to agree with the sentiments which you've just expressed that um, some of our fighters, if they are the ones involved, they should abstain from doing the kind of things you just mentioned. But we know that part of the strategy of the colonial enemy is to wreak havoc within our people by actually promoting the kind of conduct. Just yesterday, I listened to a video about their modus operandi. They can disguise as amber fighters. They can bribe our people to do all kinds of things, including even our traditional leaders, so as to disrupt this inevitable liberation that must come at some point in time. So I want also to say that the word of caution you've issued about to the clergy is very timely. I'm not sure our clergy do read literature from other spaces. They will realize that the clergy were at the forefront of the struggle for the liberation of their own people. That is as it might be, because Jesus himself was a freedom fighter. So I think the clergy must get up and stop oppressing our people along the same lines as the oppressor. They must support our people, provide solace to our people, and there must be a place and there are churches where our people can run to in the event of being oppressed by the colonial enemy. It is unacceptable that the clergy should be allies of the oppressor in oppressing our people. Nowhere has this ever been accepted. I am in a country where the clergy played a very, very important role in the liberation of the people of this country. It was the same thing in Latin America, it's the same thing elsewhere, and it's always been like that. The ambassador clergy cannot mark themselves out as people who collaborate with the colonizer in oppressing their own people. So I want to thank you for those sentiments which you expressed.
Thank you very much, Professor Carson Anyangwe. I mean, as always, a bag full of wisdom. As always, I mean, the erudite one with a lot of knowledge. And I want to thank you again, Prof, for, reiterating that word of caution. So before I come back to you, let's take a quick run to La République du Cameroon. I always say that we will have to always pass around there because things that happen in that land, I mean, they affect, the things that happen on our land. And sometimes some of our people are still blinded to some realities. They must know exactly why they need to join us in running away quickly and in kicking La République du Cameroon the fastest possible out of our land. Take a look at this. You see, this is Minisec information. So this tells you that this is actually an official government page in La République du Cameroon. So they say, according to the finance law, you're supposed to declare taxes on any money you received outside Cameroon. This also means parents who have children outside Cameroon and have been receiving money from the children will need to give the government something from it as taxes. Oh my goodness. I'm talking like this, I'm choking. I said here previously that the government of Cameroon is smoothing imposing a diaspora tax. This is already an indirect way, but they're not going to end there. For those of us in the diaspora who sit behind when you want to talk to someone, they say, get out with that, you're Ambazonia. I have told you repeatedly that it will come and meet you. That the government of Cameroon will meet you right in your bedroom in the diaspora where you are and extort from you. They have no shame, they know no limits, and they have no bounds. This is why when I urge you, awake from your slumber. Come away from the fence where you are standing, jump on the right side, and come away from the blind support you are giving to those who are terrorizing your people. Because by your silence, you think that you are saving yourself. By your silence, you are imprisoning yourself. You are becoming party to exactly what the Republic of Cameroon is doing. So take a look at this. You have your parents, your relatives back home suffering. They don't have food to eat. I said the last time that some were calling out here to beg for 10,000, 20,000 to bail themselves from La République du Cameroon. That is asking them to come with 5,000, 10,000 to declare that they have no income. That's before you come to declare that you have no income, go and look for money. Before you come to declare that you have never worked for the past 10 years, since you graduated from university, from professional training schools, you have never worked, bring 10,000, bring 5,000. You will bring this money. And you're calling the diaspora. The same people in the diaspora that you said, stay in your corner, you are confusing us here, you are disturbing us on ground zero from your comfort zones. Now you can see. The citizens of la République du Cameroun had a way of putting it, say, vous allez lire l'heure. But now, see that la lecture de l'heure has started by la République du Cameroun. I've seen some of their young men now coming out to do videos, to send messages direct to Mr. Paul Biya, to cry, look at my store, I just opened, 16 taxation teams have been here, I have nothing, I came away from school, I have studied, I came away nothing. I had to ride a bike to raise money to open this store. There is even nothing, but 16 teams have come asking for taxes that are more than the capital that I use here. And that if this shop is closed, I will become an armed robber immediately. We told them that this war in Ambazonia, that Mr. Paul Biya's genocidal campaign will cost you, the citizens, and you will pay the cost. They thought it was a joke. We have made the cost of occupation unbearable. And like I said in my last broadcast, France that was footing a lot of the bills no longer has a lot of those resources. Niger has blocked the exploitation of uranium. France can no longer have it the way they were having it. They are now forced to buy it at the prices prevalent on the international market. Burkina Faso has closed the tubes. Chad is joining. Mali had closed the tap. Niger, I mentioned earlier, has already done so. Guinea, there is no way. In Central African Republic, it's terrible. And the trend is continuing. So France is now faced with challenges of its own that even menace its own very existence. Would they have time to pay more attention to providing resources that they no longer have and must keep for the future? To bear to pay for his genocidal war in Amazonia? No way. That is why they are taxing even soon the air that people breathe. Oh yes, before you go, when you go to a hotel, no matter how small the hotel is, even if it's just an auberge, for your usual resting, even for 1 hour, you pay 500 CFA francs to the government of Cameroon as tax. But if you go to something that looks like a hotel, one night you pay at least 1,000 to the government of Cameroon for tax. You spend 10 nights, 10,000. This is the first place in the world that I've seen that taxes are paid per day, not a function of or not a percentage of the amount that you paid for the good or service, but now per day. It has not, they have not reached anywhere. They are still at Genesis. They haven't got to Malachi. By the time they get to Malachi, you will confirm. I think, Prof, I need to get your quick view about this avalanche of taxes. I can see you're really eager to say something about that. I mean, I see you've shared quite some material with me regarding those taxes. What is your take on all of this, Professor Carlson Anyangwe?
Yeah, I think you are very correct. Just tax is on its way. That has done that. And Cameroon is going to borrow a leaf from that country. The consequences of that would be if anybody living in the diaspora does not pay, it would be a certain percentage of your income in the diaspora, which you must declare to the embassy or consular service of Cameroon anywhere in the world. If you do not pay, one, you will not have any consular service provided to you. And you know what consular service is, right? What a birth certificate, whatever thing it is, you have it in a passport and all of that. You will have it. Worse, you cannot travel to Cameroon, that love Cameroon, without landing at the airport and showing evidence delivered by the embassy that you have discharged the percentage of your income earning out there in the diaspora. You paid it. If you do not show that you arrive in Cameroon, you'll be arrested and the place you'll be taken to will be Koningi. These things are not inventions. It will happen in a number of dictatorships around the world. And it's going to happen. And it's coming.
Prof, you can see me laughing
So,
because,
we need
when
to
you
take
talk some
these
of these
things
things, some
seriously.
people think it is fiction. I've been telling them before that
No, it
Cameroon's
is not a
Armageddon
fiction.
is
It is
coming.
not
I
a
said it's
fiction.
going to be horrible, and some told me it
Yes,
was fear
it's
mongering.
going
Right
to
on.
come. It's going to come. Nobody is going to escape. Lovers of Cameroon, nobody are not going to escape it. So you be very, very careful how this is going to go. Just yesterday, somebody informed me that he transferred money to Cameroon. The recipient of that money, or was supposed to receive that money, went to collect the money, and he was told to produce evidence of all the sums of money he had been receiving for the past 1 year, so the government can tax it. It was incredible. And the amount that was sent to him was just about like 100 CFA, which is about what, $200. But they asked him that they will not pay the money until he produces evidence of all the money he has received over the past 1 year, and he has to pay a percentage tax for those monies. So these things are, people they are taking it lightly. They are very, very serious things. The example which you just quoted there, which you showed there, that people abroad can no longer send remittances to their families. It is very, very, very real, very real. And that is part of the diaspora thing with the country. The money is sent by the families who have is going to happen. So, my country people, this are getting worse and worse as a colonial enemy suffers serious financial and is going to have. They're looking for all means to have money. In the beginning, they were told, the wiser heads, the declaration of war was unnecessary. You are going to that the consequences are there. Now they have to carry on with that war, which they had thought was going to end in 2 weeks, but it's going and there's no end to it in sight. In fact, if anything, things are going to go worse. And our freedom fighters have been watching how the enemy conducts this war, how the enemy behaves, and is going to sharpen his machetes accordingly. So you are likely going to see an escalation in the future in this war. You are likely going to see a situation where these freedom fighters become more and more creative and inventive. And at some point, if the colonial enemy is not careful, this war has to be exported, can no longer be fought within the territory of Amazonia. But that will be the decision of Ground Zero. But given the liberation struggles, which have been confined territorially, has been carried over to enemy territory to control the enemy. These things are not fiction. You only need to open your eyes and read historical precedents and where things happen around the world for you to know that this is going to come in our own way as well.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Yeah, things are getting very, very tough.
Yeah. Talking about exportation, there's something that's been already been exported or imported because they have found it very lucrative on the land, and I'm getting to that. But I'd like us to take a quick look at this. You see these locks you find here? These numerous locks you see here, bunched on one door, are on the door of an NGO run by a Cameroonian lawyer by name Alice Nkom. Alice Nkom received a notification from Atanga Ponji, a few days back, saying that her NGO was suspended and that the suspension was going to last 3 months. And some of the reasons advanced were that the NGO was receiving a lot of money, turning a lot of money, and there's no evidence of exactly how they were getting that kind of money, and they were calling a lot of billions. And you should understand, folks, when you see things like this, don't just look at it at the surface. Look beneath it. Try to listen to exactly what the government of Cameroon is not telling you, what Atanganji is not telling you. The issue here is they know that the Republic of Cameroon is like in a powder magazine. They know that various groups are preparing for the inevitable civil war that will be sparked in the Republic of Cameroon. They know that a lot of interest groups are stockpiling arms. And now, when they see those kind of money passing in circumstances that they can't control, they become very jittery, they become very frustrated, and they can't even go like if it were you and me. They'll fall on you and I as if it was whatever, but they can't try. Because when they see that, they ask themselves, where does Alice Nkom get this money? Who is behind her? Who are those working with her in this system? And they know that any brutality can result to exactly what they have been struggling to avoid, almost immediately. Because you see, they first of all put a simple seal. Alice Nkom went, tore off the seal before media cameras. This was reported on Canal 2, reported on Equinox, reported on several television stations. She tore off the nonsense and threw it away and told them she would not respect any kind of stupid seal on the door of her office. And as if that was not enough, the senior divisional officer for the Vuri sent her a summons and sent that summons through the chief of the Douala, what they call Canton Bell. And that chief got the summons served to Alice Nkom. Alice Nkom wrote back to the SDO, told the SDO she was not going to present herself as requested on the day designed by the SDO because her schedule had already been made. And so she was telling the SDO to reschedule it on another day, so that time, and give her enough time to arrange her schedule and be present. We all saw what happened to Barrister Tamfu. Barrister Tamfo simply stood out like Alice Income to defend his rights and the rights of his clients. What happened to him? They pounced on him and pounded him to pulp. Why? Because he's Southern Cameroonian. They can't do that to Alice Income. Alice Income too is a lawyer, just like Barrister Tamfu Richard. But they did that to Tamfu. I use these occasions always to remind our people that those of you who continue to want to cling yourself to the Republic du Cameroon, they have been reminding you day in, day out that you don't belong. You don't listen. Because see, rather than falling on Alice Income, see what they did. They rather went and packed locks. She will still get a saw and cut off these things, and nothing will happen to her. If any of you from the Southern Cameroons, in Douala, in Yaoundé, wherever, dare this, or even in our land, just tell me exactly what would already have happened to you by this time. These things are lessons to us. That's why I bring them here. For some of you who are here to tell me, oh, that's foreign news. This has nothing to do with foreign news. It's something for you to see so that you continue to understand exactly why this liberation movement is important. Why we have to fight against this dehumanization from the Republic du Cameroon. Professor Carson Anyangwe was talking a while ago about exportation of, some aspects or the liberation movement or the war itself. That's the war to the Republic du Cameroon. By exportation there, it didn't mean us carrying it there, but citizens of the Republic du Cameroon beginning to do some of those things that are happening on our land. I told our people for the longest time that La République du Cameroon is not a safe haven for you. When the people sit down and consider what they are going through in Ambazonia, they will start coming after you. And some of you thought I was kidding. Take a look at this. This is Madame John Weber. She was kidnapped in Yaoundé. I hope you heard the location very well. She was kidnapped in Yaoundé 2 days ago. I say kidnapped in Yaoundé 2 days ago. This information is reported by Nzui Manto. That she just returned from work and got a call from some people who told her they were around, and she went and opened her door and came out. They picked her from there, blindfolded her, dumped her in a vehicle, and disappeared with her to an unknown destination in Yaoundé, in the national capital of La République du Cameroon. And next day, the people have called and they're asking for a ransom of 25 million CFA. So for those of you who continue to fight against the wishes and aspirations of the people of Ambazonia and run to La République du Cameroon thinking it is safe haven, let this begin to serve as an example to you. Madame Wiba Jones was not picked up in Bamenda, she was not picked up in Boya, not in Kumba, not in Bangem, not in Tombel. No, it was not in Wum, not in Bafut, not in Batibo. She was picked up in Yaoundé. And this is to let the people know you have always thought Yaoundé was safe for you. Yaoundé has started. And I want to assure you, at the core of this will be citizens of La République du Cameroon. If you want to find out from them, because I got some information that I'm still verifying strongly, they have set in place a plan to deal with those Southern Cameroons so-called elite who have escaped to La République du Cameroon and are pushing a war in which their children, soldiers, gendarmes, police, are being killed on a daily basis. They now want you, who has escaped to Douala and Yaoundé, to pay. And this is just the beginning. You must learn a lesson. If you don't learn, they'll force that lesson on you. Like seriously. So Professor Carson Anyangwe, I suppose you read this development.
Yes, I did. And that's the clearest of evidence that contrary to the colonizer want the world to believe, kidnapping for ransom is a typical modus operandi of a terrorist state. And this has been happening. You all know what normally happens in Amazonia. When the military run out of money, what they do is round up people and then they ask the family to go and pay from like 500,000 or 1 million for them to release. And imagine 100 people. You know how much money they're going to make out of that. And that's precisely why there is now a war economy. And there is the military, the French Cameroon military, they have no appetite for stopping this war. It's profitable for them. While the politicians are there stealing money and doing things, they see no reason why they too shouldn't um, get money through this method. So this particular case should be an eye opener. Our people who must stay in that territory. But this particular lady, you would not think it will happen to her. I mean, it's one of the well-placed ladies around the place. But precisely because she's one of the well-placed ladies, that they've kidnapped her and they're asking for a colossal sum of 25 million CFA. Where that money is going to come from, I'm not too sure. But they do know that when it comes to a situation like this, families rally around to try to get money. You even call students or family members who are abroad. And now, even if you try to send that money, it's going to be taxed. So
Exactly.
it's a
Well,
very, very
thank you
difficult
for
situation.
thank you for your input, Prof. We will take a quick break, and when we come back from this break, we will talk about this outing by one professor or one J.J. Asongu, because I don't want to use titles that I know are bogus. One J.J. Asongu, and their so-called call for a referendum and some kind of devolution or something of the sort. So just a quick break, and we come back to that. That was a very beautiful number there from Manu County. I bet you I never get tired watching this mannequin dance. And frankly, I was really beginning to shake my body, and I see Prof. 2 was shaking his head right there in Johannesburg. And so we are going to move on to one of the important issues I want to talk about today. This whole talk about referendum and some kind of devolution. First, I want to hurry up and say when someone is talking devolution, minority, and referring to the people of Ambazonia, I wonder whether that same one understands that, it's a very huge mix of too many things that really have no relevance together. And so J.J. Asongu recently found himself in Switzerland, where he attended a meeting with some in the United Nations, and he said he was speaking on behalf of the people of Ambazonia. We are going to find out that. And there are a lot of things that he said in that outing, and I would like you and I, Professor Carlson Anyangwe, to listen to this first cut, and then we can make a comment about it.
Fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday, November 28, 2024, I had the awesome opportunity and responsibility of speaking on behalf of the over 8 million people of the former British Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. This was at the 17th session of the United Nations Forum on Minority Issues in Geneva, Switzerland. My address focused on the need for peace and justice, especially calling for a United Nations mediated cessation of hostilities between the pro-independence Ambazonian fighters and the Cameroon Armed Forces. I also called for a referendum on the future of the former British Southern Cameroons. This speech was heard by hundreds of diplomats from all over the world, as well as over 500 organizations supporting various facets of minority rights.
Now, Professor Carson Anyangwe, you have listened to him there, and I should say very quickly that I am amazed that he's talking about minority rights. Your quick comment, Prof?
Um, as a preliminary, this was not in front of any UN established.
Prof, I'm afraid we're having some communication challenges there. You're coming in and out. I don't know if it's the internet connection.
Any
Prof,
of
can you
the
hear
bodies.
me?
He's talking about cessation of hostilities. Whereas it is common knowledge that every person who starts a war has an obligation to stop that war, and he can stop it by simply telling his army to halt. That is it. It's nothing else. Finally, referendum, that word has been around with how complicated and complex the issue of the referendum is. So whether this talk was well thought out, or this is just, again, one of those situations where, like typical Amazonian, we just want to go out and behave like the peacock, show off, talk, nothing really concrete to show. But if you do permit me, let me just say these two things. One, on the issues of minorities. The motive of rights of minorities are very clear. The rights which minorities enjoy under international law are denoted as special rights for minorities. What are these rights? Equality on a non-discriminatory basis, use of own language, benefit from services, their own services, and participation in the economic and by a country where they find themselves. In fact, Article 27 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights is very, very, it speaks of ethnic, religious minority, or a religious minority. So when I hear people talking about minorities, I don't understand. And that leads me to ask many questions. Now, what are the implications for Amazonian self-determination to present Amazonia in the degraded of a minority group in Cameroon? Another question I want to ask is, which UN body did he participate in? Was it on his own behalf, or was it simply tagged along by some NGO? Now we know that there are a number of NGOs. They are in that ambassador are simply not in Cameroon, and so is Professor, as whom I know, inevitably have lent himself to this kind of a situation where an NGO that is fronting and anxious to present Amazonians as simply minorities would tag him along and join them in this particular forum.
Yeah, Professor Carson Anyangwe, we're having quite some challenges there with communications from your end. I don't know if you can hear me, Prof. Yeah.
He could not make any complaint because he is talking the things on minority-specific rights. And also, that's why he part which he has requested. This blanket thing about asking for don't ceasefire, blah, blah, blah. We've been hearing the past 8 years for starting. And in any case, what beneficial outcome resulted from this participation? Actually, there was nothing about it. So the issue of minority rights is very clear, and only one instrument comprehensively deals with minority rights, and this is the Declaration on the Rights of Persons belonging to national or ethnic or religious or linguistic minorities, which was adopted in 1992 by the UN General Assembly. And that's an instrument that addresses special rights of minorities in a separate instrument. And anybody who wants to seriously address issues of minority, again, which is not something new, because way back in the 80s, Albert Mugo went to Geneva, but he was even stronger because he appeared before the Committee on Human Rights. It's particularly the issues of minority. And that working group on minorities is the major focal point for the activities of the United Nations in the field of minority protection. Now, what I hear is they did not even appear before this working group on minorities. They appeared before some NGO forum, which is that. NGO forums often meet, but they are talking of the United Nations system or the African Human Rights system. This is a forum where the NGOs actually meet before the meeting of the UN body. So appearing there actually means absolutely nothing. In my days, when I used to work with the African Human Rights Commission, I attended many of these NGO forums. Is they were talking, people talk. At the end of the day, yes, the commission
Prof, can you hear me? Yes, I was going to ask you this question. He's talking about minority rights.
Present this as a major achievement, but it is not. It's one of those things where we want to show off and to appear to be consequential. Thank you.
Yeah, so Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, yeah, we've been having quite some challenges coming in the line to South Africa. I don't know what happens that once in a while we actually have some hiccups, but fortunately enough, you can get me now. I was going to ask you this question. First, he says there that on behalf of all 8 million people of Ambazonia, that begins by striking a chord. Where did he get this mandate from the people of Ambazonia to go talk on their behalf? That's number one. Then number two, he's referring to the people of Ambazonia. He's not referring to the people of West Cameroon. And then he's talking about minority. Is that not a kind of contradiction? How do we put that together? Because first, are the people of Ambazonia a minority in La République du Cameroun? Because to the best of my knowledge, in 1961, what happens? You had two parties equal in status that came together to found a country. So how? I'd just like you to throw some light on this, Prof.
Yeah, that is a big, mighty conceptual model. I don't think my actual true saying. Look, it is very, very clear, even with French Cameroon colonization of Amazonia, the important distinction, try as it can, still remains the distinction between Amazonia and Cameroon. So the colonization has not changed that. There are two territories. If you look at even during the time of the Federation, Federal Constitution made it clear that the Federal Republic, the Cameroon Federal territories, the former Southern Cameroons, which was called West Cameroon in the Federation, and the former Republic of Cameroon, which we call East Cameroon during the Federation. Now, even during the time of the United States, it was exactly the same thing after 1972. He said the United Republic of Cameroon was constituted two territories. Again, what was called West Cameroon and what was called East Cameroon. This hasn't changed anything. Bia's resuscitation of French Cameroon or La République de Cameroon, which was extinct as on 1st of October 1961, hasn't changed anything. Now, if Mr. Bia simply resuscitated Republic of Cameroon as a sovereign independent state and stayed that way, nobody would have quarreled with them. The problem is having resuscitated extinct Republic of Cameroon, it at the same time laid claim to the territory of Ambazonia as part of the territory of the Republic of Cameroon. There is no recorded instance anywhere historically at any time where Ambazonia has ever been part of a country called Republic of Cameroon. The colonial occupation, takeover, and rule in Ambazonia is colonialism, pure and simple. Territorial expansionism. That's what it is, and nothing else. So when people begin to project and say that Ambazonia, the people of Ambazonia, are a minority in French Cameroon or La République de Cameroon, that beats the imagination. How are they a minority? Now, one consequence of saying that you're a minority is that you are limited in terms of what you say and what you can do. You are a linguistic minority, you are an ethnic minority, you are a cultural minority. That's all you are. And you can only have what you can have as a minority, as a result of the benevolence of the majority. Is that what we're talking about here? So sometimes I'm often surprised to hear our people articulating positions when they have not thought it through. And this is a typical example. Like I said, way back in the 80s, Albert Mukom went to this working group on minorities. And Albert Mukom's presentation was even much more robust than this participation in NGO, which my friend appears to have taken part in. At that time, but still a lot misrepresentation of what the Southern Cameroon or West Cameroon was, and there was a lot of literature, even by our own people, presenting us a minority. And therefore, we ended up by simply begging. When you're a minority, you beg. You depend upon the majority to do you a favor. So what we do is simply asking to be treated with some respect. That's all you're asking for.
This is exactly why I say you cannot be talking about Ambazonia and then you are talking minority in La République du Cameroon. So thank you very much, Prof.
And this is
yes.
Yeah, no, but John, let me just say, Ambazonia, this territory existed as a polity since 1922, and it rose up the rank of a self-governing territory, poised to achieve independence as a sovereign state. But we know what happened, and that did not happen. It achieved independence, but not as a standalone independent state. Now, all of a sudden, this territory that existed all this while become extinct and become simply a minority, like what happened to the old Soviet republics when the Soviet Union took over all the Latvia and the rest and made them simply, although the own situation isn't better because even though they were Soviet republics, so they have self-government. But here, by admitting that you are a minority, you are considering that, well, you don't deserve self-government. You have to rule by the majority.
Okay, let's go, Prof, to yet another cut from Asongo. I'm sure you heard him talk about devolution. I don't even know what devolution is all about, but that's here. I insist that, not like I don't know what devolution is all about, but I don't know how it relates to Ambazonia. But let's get his second cut.
In 2024, I joined a group of nationalist organizations that was seeking a resolution to the conflict through dialogue with the Cameroon government. Participants included members of the Consultative Commission. In September 2024, the Consultative Commission withdrew from the talks after failing to get money from the International Communities Organization, ICO, the sponsoring organization, and because the ICO wouldn't let them take over the control of the process. However, before leaving, they had been participating in the peace plan document, which they now criticize.
Now, Prof, you heard him talk there about some processes that they had discussed elaborately. He's referring there to a consultative commission. I guess that is the Fontaine-Neba-led commission. There's a commission Dr. Fontaine-Neba, created, and I got some of our groups, movements, and organizations in there. I think they're there with the act. So the Fontaine Commission is what he's referring to. And he says that they were actually involved in these discussions about devolution and only stepped out because they will not give them the money that they required to, get. Now, let's talk therefore this issue of devolution. And I wonder if someone in this liberation movement can actually sit down, bring together our groups, movements, and organizations to talk devolution. I'm still at a loss, Prof.
Yeah, the problem is, listen to what he said. The problem with our people is everybody wants to be a chief. Nobody is prepared to be an Indian. That's one of our major problems. The second problem is we bandy terms and expressions around without being able to articulate the content of what we are talking about. This is one of those terms they use, a concept, which they bandy around, but is unable to articulate means. Devolution. Devolving what? He couldn't say. He throws it around and sounds a big term and bamboozle everybody who doesn't know, says devolution. Now, devolution takes place in a unitary context. And it can be devolution of administration or devolution of powers. What you have in the UK, for example, which is a unitary state, what has gone to places like Wales and Scotland are devolution of powers, where those entities have their own parliament and they are supervised at a much more higher level by Westminster Parliament. Now, my trouble here is the concept of devolution here was not. And by talking about devolution, you are saying, one, you accept the status quo, in other words, the unitary state. Two, you give up any idea even of a federation, because there's a whole difference between federation and a federal decentralization and a decentralization in terms of devolution. Now, I would have loved to hear more on what he means by devolution, but I know if he goes to explain further, then he box himself in a corner. At the present which we are fighting, we have rejected federation. If we rejected federation, there's no way we can accept devolution, because devolution means that you concede that Yaoundé has power over you, and Yaoundé will have, because what you're doing, you are begging now for Yaoundé to devolve something to you. What that thing is, he did not say. And bet me, Yaoundé will never devolve political power to you. Because
perhaps they are asking for a special status. Perhaps they are asking for that special status that Yaoundé itself
in a different way.
Does not even know what it ought to look like.
France, Cameroon model is that of France. France have never throughout its history talked about federation or devolving powers. Never. Even fiscal devolution, no. They are talking of devolving certain administrative powers to regions to be able to manage local affairs and not to intermeddle with what is happening in Paris. This appears to be what he has in mind when he talks about devolution. If he, but from what he says, I'm not. He understands, and this to me, and this is my final comment on this. This is a huge insult on the people of Amazonia and for all the sacrifices they've made and continue to make. For anyone to come now and say they are begging for Yaoundé simply to give them some power which they could not powers even, something which they could not even define. How does that differ from the empty shell, which is called special status, which nobody sees? It exists only in the minds of certain people, and it exists only because those who claim to be running those so-called regional assemblies, they are being paid, which is a bribe for them to keep on maintaining the fiction that there is something called regional assemblies.
Yeah, Prof, I know that like I just said a while ago, I know that the Fontaine-led, is it a consultative committee or consultative commission, has in its ranks, I mean, some of the groups, movements, and organizations in Amazonia that have generally talked about Amazonia, which means that stands for independence. So, is it that Asongo is trying to mislead the public that members of this Fontaine-led commission were actually on board devolution until they were not given money that they were required from the international community, or is that is some kind of a try? Because I know that there is the Chris Anu-led IG and the ACT, I mean those the ACT, those who were in Switzerland, and I mean who are part of that commission, because it worries me to imagine that something like this is said and I have silence. I need these groups to let us know exactly if this is what they thought initially, or the letter that they issued indicating that they were opting out of, attending the meeting in Switzerland was because they did not agree with the principles and discussions. Your take?
Yeah, I think that is how our friend has tried to mislead people. I would bet that Dr. Fontaine, whom I met recently in Boston about some few weeks back, will be the last person to say that they actually consider this whole thing about devolution. And that is not Fontaine's language. He would never speak about devolution. Never. But he tried to give the impression that, there had been some agreement about devolution with Dr. Fontaine's own group, and that those talks collapsed simply because, interestingly, that they didn't get the expected monies from you want to present something you set up, then you are now depending on someone else to give you money to carry on that thing, which you yourself cannot. Very, very strange way. So these people cannot generally project themselves as fighting for the liberation of Amazonia, nor can they generally project themselves as consequential as far as the liberation struggle is concerned. These are people who just want to, as I always said, the peacock syndrome. You want to appear, since every Ambazonian thing, the best thing to do is to form your own little outfit and become your own president. You're a president or you're a chairman, and then, as they often do, like he did, you're addressing the country. And it even says that people mandate which people, where and when. This is part of the continuing deceit which you have. And at the end of this particular branch, I would actually indicate to you certain observation which I have concerning our people, the way they behave, some of our people. And that's what has been killing this struggle. And that is, no, not killing actually, but retarding this struggle.
Exactly.
Could have been
Retarding.
won.
Yeah, because nothing's
long
going
time
to kill
ago.
this struggle.
Yeah.
Yes, Prof. We will let go Sangu, but I guess even not before we listen to this last cut, where after saying that he went out to speak on behalf of the people of Amazonia, he comes now and says that he wants, I mean, the people of Amazonia to give him a mandate. But all the same, he even tries to explain that he did not sell out, or it is not, I don't know. Let's hear him again.
This is not a surrender, but an answer to the call for peace, with the understanding that there can be no peace without justice, and in keeping with our erstwhile motto, the force of argument, not the argument of force. Our war of independence is proof that we take our rights seriously, but the time has come for peace. For the first time, there are
And again, I think
Never seen a person afflicted by model thinking like this one. My goodness. What is he talking about? Huh? What is he talking about? And he is well like peace, peace, peace. Does he understand? Has he understood what peace means? Oh my goodness. Does he understand there's a concept of negative peace and positive peace? Does he know that? Peace for the sake of just peace. And what does he understand by peace? Surrender. That's peace. No, 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 no. My dear Asongu, please, please. Nah.
So I guess I've always said on this platform and in other fora that what people don't understand is if you don't see it's like Republic of Cameroon running to the negotiation table and pleading, please let's go to the negotiation table, then we're not going to have anything come out of that table. Because La République du Cameroon has to get to that place where they are choking and they know they can no longer hold it. And they will begin saying, please let us talk. We saw them, they made that attempt with Canada. And then as soon as they felt that, oh no, but we can still hold this longer, they ran away. And because they did not succeed in getting it the way they really wanted, they ran away. But when I see Ambassador say that, say, oh, we want like you to come to the negotiation table and talk with us, that seems very beggarly. And if I want to use this from if I want to get a biblical quote to explain this off, I'll say I don't know where somebody has ever begged the devil not to harm them, and it has worked.
Yeah, yeah. Beggarly attitude will take us nowhere. We've seen people, one group after the other, anywhere linked with the enemy, and a lot of media mercenaries linked to the enemy because they are on the payroll of the enemy. And in some cases, we have evidence of this. But cases where we don't have evidence, it seems to me that some people are just posturing, advertising themselves to be noted by the enemy so that they can have some money. Our people, because of our generalized poverty, are addicted to being bribed and to have money. This has been our story, and many people are prepared to sell their birthright um, for a mess of porridge, unfortunately. So, if a few years ago somebody had told me that our Songu would be a sellout like this, I would have said no. Because I knew him way back in the 90s, interacted on this issue. And for him to emerge now and start begging for devolution of power and saying, prepared for peace, which means to surrender. When he says, oh, fighting time has come for peace, we go on French Cameroon. They don't invite war. That war was imposed on our people. The person who imposed that war bears the responsibility in law. War. That is clear as that. They have the trained army. They have over 40,000 troops. They have all this, and they are supported by countries like France and Israel. We know that. So what is very difficult for them to call off the war? The war has not affected our territory one bit. We've not crossed the international border separating us and gone to our territory. So when I hear our people always saying, "Oh, we should give," and then peace, peace. What is going to happen to you if that were to happen? It's not peace at all. It will be wholesale slaughter. Trust me. And you don't have any word. You become what's known as a conquered people. And a conquered people who have no voice and no saying, and all claims to any right are all excused, except one which by benevolence of the conqueror they want to concede to you. So I don't believe that people like Songu speak is waiting for something to happen. And that's my take.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Prof. We will take another quick break. And we'll come back from this break. This time we will talk about the arrest and the detention of Comrade Lucas Cho Ayaba in Norway. And we will look at, what exactly is going on there around his situation. And we shall discuss exactly what needs to be done to beef up the defense and give La République du Cameroon a constant run for their energy. Let's take a musical break. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are just back from Saltland, that is in Bui County in the northern zone. Very beautiful number there also. Ambazonia is just so damn with wonderful culture. Some people say, have asked me, is it just those two, cultural displays or cultural music or traditional music from Ambazonia you have, or soundtracks? And I said, please send from your various villages, send from your various localities, send them to me, and I will make use of them because we always have to celebrate ourselves. As I said earlier, Comrade Lucas Cho Ayaba is still in incarceration in Norway. He's the chairman of the AGOFC, the Ambazonian Governing Council, the AGOFC. He was initially AGC, got changed to AGOFC. And he is also the commander-in-chief of the Ambazonia Defense Forces, known as the ADF. And so he's been in incarceration in Norway for a while now. And recently, I saw an article on the Horizon newspaper, locally published back in Cameroon. And in that article, Dr. Felix Mbayu, who is the minister delegate at the Ministry of External Relations of La République du Cameroon, in charge of relations with the Commonwealth. He's a seasoned diplomat. I heard him say that when it comes to extradition, the Cameroon government had given up, that there's no talk about it again. And I said, when you hear the Cameroon government say that, no, they are trying to get some leads and they want to send us to sleep. So today, Professor Carson Anyangwe on the set, we will be examining exactly what this pertains for our liberation movement. Your first comment, Prof?
Yes, I think there's a lot that has been said regarding the arrest and detention of Dr. Ayaba. At first, we did not have any information, the circumstances and detained. And what we heard being bandied around was that he's committed some offense. Wasn't too sure what offense he had committed. That French Cameroon, that this was the head of French Cameroon for him to French Cameroon.
We are continuing to face quite some communication challenges there on the line to Johannesburg. We'll just continue to make do because this communication is so important. So if Prof doesn't make his statements all the way to the end, I will urge him to restart.
Yeah.
Prof, can you hear me?
I'd like you to
come
is
in
on
again
the
all
payroll
over.
of
Prof, can you hear me?
That is how this whole thing came about. But even then, the circumstances were not very, very clear. And Cameroon cannot wash his hands off. It's just that Norway is a European country. They could well have moved in like they did with Naira 10 and hijacked, kidnapped Ayaba Cho and taken to Yaoundé.
Yes, Prof, continue. I wasn't getting you at some point. You were coming in and out. I'd like it if you can actually get back to the beginning of the salient issues you were saying because we were losing you.
I'm sorry, there was some echo at the background. I don't know where it's coming from. Yeah. But I was saying that we learned that analysis of these arrest papers that were filed by a certain Salai in asking for Dr. Cho Ayaba to be arrested. Because Salai was not acting on his own. It's always been an instrument in the hands of French Cameroon doing the dirty work of Cameroon. So French Cameroon hands are clean on this whole thing. The surprise there is that the oppression after the Nazis would have gone down, but nevertheless, it says it is a sovereign state, and it conducts
a line to South Africa to Johannesburg is decidedly so bad.
His own law and more that they have clean hands in this matter. They are deeply involved in it. What is simply happening is that Norway cannot compound the situation about what they have done by actually just handing over this Dr. Cho Ayaba to French Cameroon, because there are certain preliminaries which have to be met. There is no treaty linking both countries that we know. Even there is not even a surrender scheme linking the two countries. So what I interpret that person to be saying is, for now, we know we cannot direct route and present papers. Dr. Cho Ayaba, we are still going to explore other means to see.
Wow, Professor Carson Anyangwe, we are hitting you with a lot of challenges, with a lot of difficulties. I guess you were saying some very important thing regarding the comment or the media outing of Dr. Felix Mbayu. So I guess we are likely to take, a very short break. I know it's 18 minutes gone past 9 p.m. in Ambazonia. Let's take a 20-second break and try with the technical department to see what we can do about the communications lines to Johannesburg. And so thank Thank you. We will go right back to Johannesburg, where I guess communications with Professor Carson Anyangwe have been restored. Prof, you were making a comment about what Dr. Felix Mbayu said, and you were establishing exactly what you interpret that to mean. Can you get back to those comments? Because when you were around that comment, we could not hear you properly.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I said one, that Cameroon does not have plain hands on this matter because it was acting through its agency, French Cameroon, that is a certain Salah who is in America. He filed certain papers to earn to earn his pay. Depending on what he delivers, he earns his pay. That's been the French modus operandi. Second, that I do not believe it can give up. My interpretation is that what they are saying is, for now, we are going to pause this thing because we don't have any legal level on which to stand. And even if they don't have, they could approach it like they've done the Norwegians will find it scandalous just to take Dr. Cho Ayaba and hand him over to French. They have to look around for something. Somehow that faces for Norway to be able to hand him over. And I was saying, we have possibilities going through the French or going to through the Israelis. And the French have always acted as an agency of French Cameroon to do all kinds of things that we know, everybody knows it. And they might want to try to get the French to do something. Let's see in the days to come. But what has struck me in the whole of this thing is that Norway extended the remand of Dr. Ayaba indefinitely. That is quite shocking. Because in Anglo-Saxon system, that is only possible if you exceed the normal 48 hours of detention. You exceed it. That means you already made an arrest when you're not ready. You should have been ready before making an arrest. And what I'm hearing now is the court granted the prosecution of man, and this time, apparently, for an indefinite period. And when that happened, the thing that struck me was it means
We are still having some
that is
communication
already a
challenges.
presumption of guilt. And it's now for Dr. Joe Ayaba to try to prove his innocence, which is contrary to what normally in the American system, where there's a strong presumption of innocence, and it is the responsibility of the prosecution to prove the guilt. And one element of that presumption is bail. You cannot say somebody is presumed innocent and you keep him in prison. It doesn't make any sense. So this is one thing that struck me about the Norwegian system. Although I thought that Norwegian system was much more closer to the Anglo-American system, I'm beginning to realize that perhaps it is not, and that one needs to have a closer look. And if only on this issue, Norwegian system is detention, so I understand. And I say so because I don't have all the facts. Indefinite detention of somebody who is merely a suspect, as far as we're concerned. Then what makes us think that the state of Norway will not lean over to accommodate the idiosyncrasies coming from Yaoundé? In other words, um, devise something which will enable them to send Dr. Choi to Yaoundé, where they know French Cameroon has in its penal code the death penalty. And you don't extradite people to places where there's a likelihood.
Now, Prof, unfortunately, we keep running out there with the communications line, and I'd like you to know that this is particularly an issue. The lines in Johannesburg, and so apologies for those communication hiccups. The technical department has done everything possible to, get things really clarified, but from our end, everything is okay, and so we're having challenges on the side of Johannesburg with the quality of the sound coming in from there. So, Prof, I don't know, I see it's still frozen. I don't know if you can hear me, but I absolutely would have wanted us to delve a bit more into exactly what Amazonian or what Amazonians need to do to, get the better of this situation. Because one thing we need to bear in mind is that Comrade Cho Ayaba can be himself, could be just the chairman of AGOFC and is in detention out there. But in effect, whatever happens to him will reverberate on our liberation movement. And he, was one of the actors in this liberation movement. And so we have to understand that in this situation, just like we have done with others, all hands will have to come on deck because if we allow La République du Cameroon to play its undercurrents and play, behind the scene kind of arrangements, engaging diplomacy rather than law, and end up, having Comrade Cho Ayaba flown to Yaoundé, it will have a non-negligible effect on the psychology of the people of the southern Cameroons regarding this struggle, this liberation movement. This is exactly why we have to fight tooth and nail to make sure that possibility doesn't happen. That is why we have to ensure that some of our best legal minds in Amazonia, from the new year, join the legal team, the defense team for Comrade Cho Ayaba, and begin to know exactly what is happening and bring together ideas to see exactly how to arrest that situation. Let's be clear about this. We may have differences, we may have misunderstandings, we may have areas where we disagree, but it is not for the enemy to discipline anyone among us. That discipline has to be carried out by us. The moment we start thinking that it makes sense for the enemy to discipline anyone among us or whatsoever, whatsoever, I'm saying this because of the barrage of calls I've received from some people attacking, why are you talking about Cho Ayaba? No, let some will even go as far as saying let him rot there. Some will say all kinds of things and all another. I want to make it really clear here, absolutely clear here, that those of you who are holding that opinion, you are trying to shoot yourselves in the leg. You may have, we may all have differences with Comrade Cho Ayaba, but at this point in time, it is the interest of Amazonia that is at stake. It is the image of our liberation movement that is at stake. It is the integrity of our liberation movement that is at stake. And it is actually, the stay of our liberation movement that is at stake. I have had the opportunity to tell them a lot of the times that even me, myself, Mbakura, as an individual, I've had differences with Comrade Cho Ayaba. I've complained on this set that he wasn't taking, my calls, wasn't cooperating, wasn't collaborating on issues that we thought were important to, handle together. But the moment he is in trouble, where he can easily find himself in the throes of the enemy, our one and only enemy, La République du Cameroon, we must rally. And I used an African proverb here the last time. You first of all send away the hawk before you go questioning mother hen why she first of all wandered far away into the forest. This is exactly what it is. Unfortunately, Professor Carson Anyangwe is still frozen. Prof, can you hear me? By any chance? Prof, are you still there? Can you still hear me by any chance? Unfortunately, we lost him now, once and for all. The lines were really bad, and we actually had to discuss we had agreed to discuss the pre-talks in Canada as the last issue for conversation, for examination on the set today. I suppose we are just going to adjourn. This is about 29 minutes gone past 9 p.m. in Bamenda. I think it's the same time in Boya and Kumba. And so therefore we will, I'll have to bring Professor Carson Anyangwe back to this set. And when he returns here, we will simply go straight away. We will finish up the few issues. We have to talk about the arrest and detention of Comrade Cho Ayaba in Norway, and then we move straight into the pre-talks in Canada. That said, I really want to thank each and every one of you who set aside time to be part of this very important broadcast. We definitely we'll be back on this set. I'll talk with Professor Carson Anyangwe at the end of this broadcast when I get off from the studios. And then I hope that he agrees that we return to this platform on Sunday to complete our conversation. If he agrees, then I will let each and everyone know in my very next broadcast. That said, until we meet again, have a nice time and do enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your evening, or good night for those who are where they are already about to sleep. And thank you so much for watching. But as always, share the link as much as you can so that those who are not able to be part of this live broadcast should have the opportunity to watch. Thank you very much. Okay.